I was on a base called Ruffin, which was about 7 miles outside Bury St Edmunds, a part of the 94th Bomber Group. And I was responsible for food in their canteen. I lived on the base in a Nissen hut with 5 other British girls, and then we cooked all day long from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, producing food for the GIs who were off duty. We had to produce at least 1,000 doughnuts a day in batches of 250, made in a huge white enamel bowl. The flour came in sacks. From the States, the dough was already mixed with the cinnamon and the nutmeg, and we had to put the milk in. And then, of course, they had to be mixed and fried, cut out into rings because they were rings for doughnuts, which they dunked in their coffee, and fried them.
Ma, I miss your apple pie. Ma, I miss your stew. Ma, they're treating me all right, but they can't cook like you.
My first impression of England was based on the weather, which was extremely bad when we reached London and got our assignment to come up here to Thurley. And it was noticeable not only because of the comfort of the individual people, but because of the necessity to fly in that type of weather the time we were here.
The weather not only affected the flyers, but it had a fantastic effect on the ground crews who maintained the aircraft, because most of the aircraft repair work was done out of doors. And it didn't matter what was happening, those planes had to be readied for the next mission. So our ground crews frequently worked all night. They worked under very adverse conditions to get the planes ready. Tremendous dedication on their part. I think that one of the things that always struck Americans were the British children. And we frequently, from trains, we'd toss them our chocolate bars, which were very highly concentrated, and I often wondered if the children took them home and used them properly or got sick eating them.
The famous expression of youngsters in East Anglia at that day, "Have you any gum, chum?" This was the famous American stick chewing gum. Well, we got more than chewing gum because we got the emergency rations thrown out to us by the Americans. And these we immediately contained: 1 small tin of bully beef, a packet of dry biscuits, a little tin of brown, nondescript powder, which we all know today as the famous brands of instant coffee and so forth, 2 or 3 sheets of toilet paper, and 1 absolute necessity. This was obviously to keep the local birth control down, in which are mentioned every day now in everyday conversation.
You'll never know just how much I miss you.
On the base, we walked or we rode bicycles. Usually a newcomer, one of the first things he did was find a bicycle to buy. And the average person traveled to Bedford from Thurley in the back of a truck.
The relationship that developed between the flyers and the ground crews and the English people in the areas surrounding our base. And people in Thurley and Bledsoe and some of the other small towns sort of adopted us. And we got to know them through the pubs and buying eggs from them occasionally. And it was a great relationship that still exists today.